I do want to give a little bit of love to Penn State. It's interesting what the perspective on them is probably nationally because the two games that people outside of the footprint would have really watched are the games against Michigan and Ohio State.
Hmm.
And it's a situation where both of those teams are now in the CFP top four. Penn State certainly, I think, battled Ohio State a lot better, although that game got a little bit out of hand in the fourth quarter. But when you watch this team against other competition, and Indiana isn't a great football team, let's be completely clear about that. But there are a lot of things to like here, man. And this is a team that is probably going to and should win 10 games this year. And I know
Yeah.
that folks are frustrated that they haven't been able to get over the hump against some of those top 10 teams. I understand that frustration. But it's a really interesting team because if you're not locked in and you haven't watched a ton, you think that they're not great, but they're still really good.
No, they're very sound. They're a solid team. They got a lot of youth in the skill positions. I'm trying to look up. That's my bad for not doing the homework, but I'm trying to
No,
look up
you're
how
all
young
good.
their O line is. I know they have one kid who's probably going to get drafted here this year, if not next year, at the tackle spot, who's done a really good job. But that's been my biggest question mark with Penn State is the physicality because to me, you have the Ohio State, which they're physical up front, big, they have bodies, but they're more of that sexy. And we've talked about this, how Penn State's kind of gone to match the athleticism of Ohio State sideline to sideline. And I think
Yep.
that's why you saw a much closer game against Ohio State. And then Michigan's kind of gone
100%.
the polar opposite, where they've become super, super physical, great backs, and we're just going to pound it, play super, super physical, downhill attack, aggressive defense. Um, and Penn State struggle with that. And it's like weird because when growing up as a football fan, a college football fan, Penn State was kind of like the combination of both, right? Like they had
Right.
really physical guys in certain positions that were really key, and then they kind of had some guys outside that can make plays in different positions and can run sideline to sideline. So it was like, I think they need to get back to that footprint, and I think that'll give them the best chance when you're talking about roster compilation or putting your roster together. But
Mhm.
um, to me, the youth of this team is what's the brightest point moving forward. And the nice thing is, I think they've done a great job developing Drew Alar, getting him reps, putting him in situations to be successful. He's been
Yeah.
experiencing some success, and to be honest with you, they did that with Clifford too,
Sure.
early on. So really, really good. Excited to see what the future holds specifically for him, and then the rest of those young guys, Nick Singleton, that the whole backfield. So.
Yeah. No, I mean Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, both of those guys are
Mhm.
great. I agree with you on Drew. Quarterback position, definitely a bright future. And I mean, you know this as well as anybody, but for folks who haven't seen him up close, the way that the guy is built, he looks like your prototype at quarterback. And he's got all of the physical skills development certainly going to be key there. And then
Yep.
on the defensive side, when I was at training camp this year, I mean, some of the young defensive linemen that aren't in the rotation right now, they
Yep.
got some legitimate skill, and specifically on the interior of that D line. I know that's been a point of emphasis there in terms of recruiting, but those are guys who can hold up at the point of attack, but they can also get you a nice pass rush. Great athletes can be disrupted from the interior. That's what I'm looking forward to there. So yeah, I mean
It's going
it's
to be interesting
interesting.
to see how they replace their defensive backfield too,
Yes,
because they've leaned on those
like
guys heavy and they've been there for a long time. And you would
yeah,
think
but
that they'd have something in the pipeline for sure.
I mean, it seems like that has been kind of where they have made their hay, though. It's like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
finding those guys in the back end with the measurables, with the physical traits, and then, I mean, they've done a great job of teaching technique to and fundamentals to those guys too.
T
So I think,
Smalls. It's my guy
man,
Terry Smith.
I'm telling you though, I think that I don't worry about that
Mm-hmm.
personally. And I don't know what they have there. I trust what they've been able to do. And not for nothing, this is a team that also went down south, played Auburn, who's a bad team, but they really laid it on them. They played them better than some of those teams down there in the
Yeah.
SEC. So I mean, if we're really contextualizing this roster and this season here, like I know people are a little bit down. And I totally understand it, but like let's put things in
Yeah.
perspective real quick. Very unique team to me.